No. Lovely. So hopefully most of you came to my session way back in October, and you might remember some things from my session then. But just to reintroduce myself, my name's Caroline. I'm from the Language Centre at Manchester Met, and I'm here generally to support the academic development of international students. And specifically now I'm here to help you with your essay and help you through that new process of submitting an assessment in UK higher education. So just to remind you of what this process is. So we set up this this program called Matric, which is Managing Assessment Transitions for In-Sessional Coaching. So you have workshops delivered by me, which is one of these, and then you can submit your work to me and my team, and I'll talk you through how to do that later. We give you feedback. You meet the person who gave your feedback. You meet them to discuss face to face, and you can continue to use the Coaching for Academic English services as normal. So that's all before you submit to your main course. So you can use us as a way to check that you're on the right tracks, because sometimes submitting your assignment can be a little bit intimidating, can make you feel a bit nervous. So you can use our services before you submit to your main course. So you've already had one workshop, so now here we are at workshop number 2. Today this is going to be a longer session, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of your questions. Then if you look at this timetable, on the 4th of January, you can submit your draft, 2,000 words, so maybe not all of it, but 2,000 words of your work to us, and we can check it for you. Okay, if it's a bit more than 2,000 words, that's fine. We suggest you submit as much as possible, okay, so we can give you feedback and as much as possible. Then on the 10th of January, you submit it, we give you feedback. You can see our written feedback. Then we organise meetings with you to discuss the feedback, and then you submit it to your main course. Okay. Can you put your hand up if you have any questions about that timetable at all? No. Now, submitting it to Matric is optional. You don't have to. Okay, you won't lose marks on your main course if you don't. Obviously, we recommend you do, because your work will generally be better, and there's evidence of this. Your work will be better if you submit it to me and my team to read before you submit it to your main course. We will look at things like academic style, sentence structure, punctuation, grammar, vocab, criticality, paragraphing, all sorts. Okay, and we will check for plagiarism, which I'll talk to you about later. And just say, yeah, there's a question there. So you submit the draft to us by the 4th of January, and I will show you where to submit at the end of the session today. Okay, and I'll talk you through how you do that. So by the 4th of January, so you've got a while. Okay, then we have a week to look at it, look at them. We give you your feedback, and then you have meetings with us. Okay. Any other questions at all about that? As I said, I'll show you how to do that later on. Any questions? Lovely. So today we are going to review some of the things we covered in the first workshop, just quickly for anyone else who missed it. And so now you're writing your assignment, or you're starting to write, just to put those things back in your mind again. We're going to look at the structure of your essay. We're going to focus on avoiding plagiarism and incorporating sources critically. Now, these two things here, avoiding plagiarism and incorporating sources critically, these are some of the main issues that students face when they submit their first assignment, in my experience. And I've had meetings with Lucy and with your tutors, and we think these are the areas we want to focus on in the session to make sure they're not an issue when you do submit. Okay, so trying to stop them becoming an issue before they are. Okay. So let's think about your essay. Hopefully you have started to think about it by now. So you have a 3,000 word essay and you have to critically reflect on the text that you presented. Okay, so I don't know if you have presented or you're going to present. Can you tell me if you've presented yet or not? Just somebody turn your microphone on or type in the chat box. Have you done your presentations yet?
Yes, the presentation is finished, but the 3,000 words are not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Good. So I'm just in time. Lovely. So you've done that presentation, so well done. So that was your first piece of assessment. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough, so if I have to cough sometimes, apologies. So in your essay, you have to relate your text to other readings or to your studio work. Now, put your hand up, and hopefully you know how to put your hand up on the chat box. Put your hand up if you are going to relate your text to your studio work. Raise your hand if you're going to put your text, relate the text that you presented to your studio work. Yeah, put your hand right there. Thank you. I just want to see. I'm not going to ask you questions. I just want to see how many people are relating it to studio work and how many to other texts. So just 2. Anyone else? 4, 5, 6, 8, 11. Okay. Cool. 12, 13. Just for me to get an understanding of who's doing what. 14. Okay, lovely. Can you people put your hands down? You lower your hands, please. Lovely. Now, can you put your hand up if you're going to relate your text to other texts, to other readings, please? Raise your hand if you're going to relate your text to other texts. Lovely. Okay, great. There's no better way. There's no way that's the best one, or that's not the best one. It just, as I said, just interested to see who was doing what. Okay, you can lower your hands. Okay, so you relate your text to readings or to your studio work. You need to look at the wider implications of your text. You need to debate its principles, strengths and weaknesses, and its cultural and political position. You need to discuss how useful it is for analysis and intervention with existing urban settlements and with new urban settlements. Now, this information that I have here is from your assignment brief. Just a tip, when I read your assignment brief, I take it apart like this, put it into bullet points and make questions. Okay, that's useful for the future when you have a future assignment, just so you know exactly what you're going to focus on. Okay. Oh, yes, it's recording, Natasha. I'm recording it. Okay. So so when you have an assignment brief, usually there's lots of words and it's quite complicated. So just take some time to understand the brief and just put it into bullet points and into questions. Okay. So that's where we're up to. So I've taken this piece of information, sorry, there's a text, there it is, this piece of information and put it into bullet points there. Now we looked at this last time. Last time we focused on the research territory, okay, and where your text is and how it's situated in relation to other research and how you need to write about the relationship between your text and other research. By other research, I mean other texts. Okay, so we looked at that in the last session. I am going to put both of these PowerPoints on Moodle, the one from last session and the one from today. Okay, and you should still have the recording from the last session as well. Okay, so we looked at what, and this is being critical. Okay, so you're focusing on the overlap from your text and existing research, your own studio work, or other texts. We also looked at how it's good to identify strengths and weaknesses of a text. We talked about how you're part of an academic community, and being critical is finding strengths and weaknesses in things you read. So the text that you've identified, you need to look at the strengths and weaknesses of it. And it's good. Is it what we want you to be, is looking at the strengths and weaknesses, not only the strengths. Okay, and last time we also looked at what it means to be critical. Being critical is showing the relationship between different pieces of research. Okay, so showing that relationship between the red triangle and the purple triangle. Being critical is also finding strengths and weaknesses, or positives and negatives in your research and in your others' ideas. Being critical is showing logic through your paragraphs and sections. Being critical is using research and reading to support your ideas, so using sources. Okay. So all this we looked at last time, so I'm not going to go over that in more detail. So if you weren't at the last session, review that PowerPoint from last time, which I'll put on Moodle, and I suggest everybody review that PowerPoint because it's really important. Okay, so that was last time. Let's forget about that. Well, not completely forget about it, but let's move on. Now, what I would like you to do is scan this QR code, and I'm also going to put a link in the chat box. And I want you to write anything in that chat box that you're unsure about for your assignment. Okay, so it could be, I don't know how to write an introduction. Or it could be, I don't know where to find reading. Or I don't know how to paraphrase, anything like that. Okay, or it could be, I'm worried about. So anything you're unsure about, write on this Padlet. Okay, I'm just going to pop the link in the chat box now for you, or you can scan the QR code. So write any of your, I wouldn't say worries, but anything you are a bit unsure about on this Padlet. Okay, when you go onto the Padlet, you will see there is a pink plus in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, if you click on that, you can write something. Okay, so there's the link in the chat box for you. Click on the link and add your questions. I am going to give you 5 minutes to write your question. You can add more than one. 5 minutes, think about anything you're unsure about for this assignment. Okay. You can write as many comments as you like, okay? I'll give you a bit more time. It could be absolutely anything about your essay. Okay, I'll give you a couple more minutes because there's some good questions coming up here. Okay, that's going to keep notifying me. Keep adding your questions onto there, okay, because I'm going to review them during a break time. I've noticed that some of your questions we're going to cover today anyway, so that's great. One of the main things really is I want you to see that Everybody has things they're not sure about, okay? So if you feel a bit worried or a bit confused, hopefully you can see that everyone feels that way, okay? And that we are here to help you. Okay, so today we will cover as many of those questions as possible. But if there is anything I can't cover or I don't know how to cover, if it's something specific, then I will pass it on to Lucy. Okay, so we'll continue with the session today. I'll review your comments during a break, and then we'll see what we can get through in the session. Okay. So something that quite a few of you asked was about the structure. Okay, and one of you even asked about the introduction. So introductions, you have your essay now. You understand the top. You understand the question, the brief. What do you need to put in your introduction? Can you put some ideas in the chat box, please? So what kind of things would you include in an introduction for this essay? Or you can put your hand up and speak if you prefer. What should you include in your introduction?
Hello.
Yes.
Just
Hi.
want to ask, should it be like a brief text, talk about your main point, or what you want to talk about in this essay?
Lovely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, some good things in the chat box. Yeah, so I like the way you said brief. Yes, definitely short. The outline, lovely. Excellent. Good. I'm trying to put a thumbs up to all of these, but there's so many good ones, I'm missing them. I won't do that again because it takes too long. Great, okay. Just out of interest, put your hand up. Who did a pre-sessional course? Put your hand up if you did the pre-sessional course. Just out of interest, I'm not going to pick on you. Okay. Because these are some of the things you learn in the pre-sessional course, and I was just very impressed that some people had some really good ideas already. So in your introduction, yes, you need to put some of these things. So you need to briefly, and that's why I was happy that Yichen said briefly, summarize the text. Now, when I say text, I know they are theories. Okay, so when I say text, it could be the theory or the idea. Okay, so for example, if you have the new urbanism text, you are saying, what is new urbanism? Now, you might say that is too difficult to say that briefly because it's a whole essay and you've got a whole text about it. But if you were to summarize it in 1 or 2 sentences for me, what would you say? And that will be the first line of your essay. Excuse me. Okay. So you're briefly summarizing it. If you have a 3,000 word essay, your introduction should be no longer than 300 words. Okay, it can be shorter. Okay, generally an introduction is 10% generally of your essay. Now that's not, you must do 300 words for an introduction. No, it can be shorter, but if you think of it like that. Can you, does anyone have a question? Put your hand up if you have a question. If not, put your hand down. Yichen, your hand's up? It's an old hand. Great. Lovely. So briefly state, what is the text about? Excuse me. Now I know that's quite difficult when you have a blank piece of paper and you're trying to write what is this about. So I often find I save my introduction till the end to write it. Okay, and then you obviously put it at the beginning of your text. Then what you're going to do is you're going to write a thesis statement. Now your thesis statement is what you will do in the essay. For example, This essay will critically reflect on the principles of new urbanism. This essay will critically reflect on urbanism. Okay, it's just one sentence saying what you will do. That's, as some of you said, that's the aim. Okay. Then you have the outline. Now, your essay is not a surprise story where the reader gets to the end and thinks, oh, that was exciting. I didn't expect that. No, you need to tell the reader exactly what to expect. Okay, so you tell them the structure. So firstly, the essay will discuss new urbanism in relation to other texts, in relation to my studio work. Next, it will consider the wider implications of. Okay, so you're writing the structure in your outline. And that's it, that's your introduction. Okay. Right, so pretty straightforward. Lucy sent me an example of an essay from last year. And that's what the introduction of the essay from last year did. Simply those things. Okay, so it's, people feel a bit intimidated by introductions because they're the first thing to write, but they're really straightforward. If you have a longer piece of work, you just make that beginning bit, the summary or the general information at the beginning, longer. That's it. Okay. All right. Any questions about introductions? Put your hand up or write in the chat box, please. Okay, lovely. So the rest of the structure, you follow the assignment brief. If you follow an assignment brief, your structure will be fine because you're doing exactly what they want you to do. Don't try to be too creative. Okay. So the next part, you need to relate your text, the theory, to other readings or to your studio work. So how do you do that? And I think somebody's question was about, do you have one big idea or several little ideas? So take one concept or one idea of the text. Okay, of that theory, take one point from it. Okay. And it might be an idea to choose, when you're reading the text, obviously you know the text very well now, make a list of or maybe 5, I don't know, different ideas that you think are really interesting from that text. Then you are going to contrast that idea to another text, to other readings, or to your studio work. Okay. So you're saying, what are the similarities or differences of that idea to another text? Once again, all that's doing is looking at that red and that purple intersection. Okay. You are talking about how it relates or connects to another text, or how does it relate or connect to your work. Now, as I'm talking about this, I know you all have different texts, so keep thinking about your specific text. Okay, so how does new urbanism relate to another text? Okay, and by other texts, I mean the other ones from the seminar readings that you've had. Okay, and that's one paragraph or maybe 2 paragraphs. Then get another concept or idea from your list and repeat, do exactly the same. Excuse me. So it's a really clear structure. We have what's called, I haven't written down here, a topic sentence. A topic sentence is basically an introduction to a paragraph. Okay. So when you're talking about that one concept or one idea from the text, write it in the topic sentence, in the first sentence of that paragraph. Okay. I want you all to now think in your head, or you can write it down, at least one concept or idea from your text. Okay. Just give you 1 minute to do that. Just have 1 or 2 minutes to think of one concept or idea from your text. Yeah, okay. I just turn it off sometimes to give you some time to think, so it's not always me talking at you and not giving you any time. The difference between compare and contrast and connect. Good one. Because comparing and contrasting would be finding the similarities and differences. To connect could also mean just to show that relationship. It might not be a similarity, a difference. It might be an impact. It might be an effect. Okay, so let me take another of the texts. You got sorry, my dog's making noise. The rise and fall of council housing. Okay, so you're relating the rise and fall of council housing, that text, to other texts in the seminar, in the list of texts you have. Okay, what is the relationship between that text and others? Okay, so it might not be the similarities, differences, might be, but it might also be how does that theory impact the other texts or the other theories. Okay, it's kind of like, imagine they're all kind of exist together and they connect together, some of them. Okay, you're just exploring that relationship between them. Okay, imagine they're a group of people. Okay, and some people are similar and different. Some just have different relationships. Some impact the other. Okay, they take from the other, they add to it. Okay, that's what I mean. Okay. Any more questions about that? So now's your time to ask questions. Okay, so the next part, you've talked about the relationship. That's the next part of your structure. Okay. After that, you talk about the implications. So you're answering these questions. These are just questions from the assignment brief. So what impact has the text or theory had on cities? What impact has the text or theory had on urbanists? Okay. Although it's an essay, you could have headings. Okay, it's not common, but when you have you want to organize your essay, yeah, you could have the heading wide implications. And then a really key part is talking about the strengths and weaknesses. What are the strengths of the text or theory, and what are the weaknesses? Now, we looked at that last time. It's a difficult thing to do, to find the weaknesses of a theory, but you could maybe consider it in terms of excuse me, its relationship with other texts. Because if you find that another text has differences, that could also be seen as a weakness. Okay. So all the time be thinking about your essay here and your text, because I'm speaking quite generally here. One, because I am not an architect, I don't really, or I'm not focusing on urbanism, but two, because I want it to be relatable to all of you. Okay. So if you think about new urbanism, what is the strength of the theory in new urbanism? And do other theorists agree or disagree? And what are the weaknesses? Okay. If you do all those things, you write introduction, you relate it, have several parts. This is probably quite a big part. Okay, so you maybe have for example, 4 ideas from the text relating it to other work. Talk about the wider implications, talk about the strengths and weaknesses. There's one bit I missed off. You will also need to, how useful is it for analysis with existing urban settlements and inspiring future. How long is each part? It depends how much you've got to say. Okay, someone asked about word count on the Padlet. You are 3,000 words. Generally, you can go 10% over or 10% under. Okay, so just aim for about 3,000 words. I can't tell you which part you sorry, how long each part's going to be, because it depends on how much you've got to say. Generally, I'd say that the biggest part is going to be this one. Somebody's microphone on. Oh. Okay, there's a question in the chat box. When we talk about strengths and weaknesses, do we back it up with other theories of authors, or we just write our own opinion? Excellent point there, Natasha. You back it up. Okay, you can add your own idea. So, for example, let me think of one. You might find that part of the theory, is limited because it only focuses on I don't know, urban settlements in Asia. Okay. Now that's your own idea. You could say that. This theory is limited because it only focuses on it. But what's even better is if you support it with other theories by other authors. For example, Smith et al. Finds that this theory, that new urbanism, is not applicable in South America. I'm obviously making it up. Okay, but so your arguments are stronger if they are supported by other theories, but you can add your own. Okay, I wouldn't say it's an opinion. It's your own idea. It's your own insight. Okay, so you can add your own insights, absolutely. Any more questions? Okay, great. I'm just going to have a quick look at the Padlet now just to see if there was any other questions about structure in particular. Okay, so we had somebody saying structuring the base of their essay, how to keep the main idea relevant. Okay, so topic sentences. Topic sentences are key to make sure you have a clear structure throughout. So you could say, one concept from New Urbanism is da, 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 da. And then you talk about the paragraph. Another concept is da, 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 and it relates to this text. Okay, clear topic sentences really guide the reader. Remember, it is your job as the reader, as a writer, to help the reader understand. Okay, so kind of guide, and your outline in the beginning helps the structure. Then, oh, I forgot to mention, the conclusion recaps what has been said in the introduction, basically, or what you have found. It's very short. Okay, I'll look back at the Padlet. So I'm unsure about how to structure the essay and link it to other read. I'm going to share my screen for a moment. 1 second, so you can see, so we can read it together. So this one down here. I'm unsure how to structure the essay and link to other readings and comparisons. Do all have to be compared to the book we presented on, and how do you decide the sequence of writing? Okay, so hopefully the structure I've just given you will help. Okay, you need to relate it to the book you presented on, the text you presented on. Okay, hopefully that structure will help with that. Okay. Could we also write the essay related to our studio work and also the book? That one I'm not sure about. I don't think you can, I think it's an or, it's an and or. I don't think you can do one or the other, but I will check with Lucy about that. Okay. How to determine the title and topic, how to make them become a point. Okay, so hopefully I just mentioned that about you can have opinions, insights about the text. Now, we have to be careful not to be objective when we write. We can't just say, I don't like something. We need to be objective about it. So subjective are personal opinions, but subjective is personal opinions. Objective is rational, clear opinions. Okay, so just because we don't like something isn't sufficient. We need to kind of have a reasonable grounding about why. Oh, there's some more down here. Okay, I'll have a look more through these in the break time. Okay, so more about structure. I am going to be organized. And when I've dealt with them, they're going to be yellow. So that's about structure. That's about structure. What structure should I use? Should it be introduction, book summary, related to main points, and conclusion? Very good. So I've looked at summary. Okay. We've looked at this one. I'm not sure how to balance the content of my essay between my book and my case study. Okay. I think I like the idea of comparing it and them both happening at the same time. So there's, when we compare things, or we're not just comparing it, when we talk about two things, we can do it in two ways. We can have what's called a vertical structure, where we have all about the text, then all about your studio work, and you have to relate it back. It's not my favourite. Or we have a vertical structure, where we talk about text, case study, text, case study, text, case study. I prefer that because it's clearer, the links between them. You can show the relationship more clearly. Okay. But we have just looked at the structure of that, so hopefully that's okay. Okay, we looked at the structure here, I'm sure, with the readings that will support. Go. Right, okay, I'll stop sharing for now and we'll go back to those in a minute. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay, I'll share my screen again. Okay, so the next part we're going to look at is plagiarism. Okay, because this is something I find we can talk to you about, but and we get you really scared of it, but it's really important. And until you actually really understand it, and until you submit that first assignment, you don't really understand. So until you experience it. So don't be too scared about it, but also be aware it exists. Okay. So here are some questions for you. Just think for 2 minutes here about these questions. Just have a think for a moment. Okay. Okay, so question number 1, what is plagiarism? You can either put your hand up or write in the chat box. What is plagiarism? Copy. It's a succinct word. Yeah, copying. Any other ideas?
Like copying without citation.
Yeah, okay, good. Without citations, copying other people's views. So this is the MMU official definition. Unacknowledged incorporation in your work of substantial amounts of materials derived from another person's work, whether published or unpublished. So yeah, basically copying other people's ideas. Okay. And not citing them. So it's really important that we don't do this. But you will accidentally, so we want to stop that. So when you submit your work to us, this is what we see. Okay, and you will see it as well, but we need to make sure it doesn't get to this stage. So when you submit your work, you get a percentage, a similarity percentage. This is not a plagiarism percentage. It is a similarity percentage. I will explain the difference now. Okay, so you'll see the percentage, and you'll see that 32% of this, that makes up 52%, was submitted to Manchester Met. Seems strange. No. So this is an example of a matrix not too long ago. This is the first page of the person's work, and it was highlighted all in red. The system, Turnitin, said to me, through highlighting red, this is plagiarism, this is copying. No, this is not plagiarism because it is a cover sheet and the course required everybody to submit this cover sheet. Okay, so the system, Turnitin, is intelligent, it's smart, but it's not that smart. So then every single student on this specific course, it said this bit was all copied. It's not. It said all this was copied. Okay, all this, but it's not. Okay, so as a tutor, we look at that and we ignore that bit. So that's why it said 32% was plagiarized, because they had to submit a cover sheet, they had to submit a participant information sheet, they had to submit an ethics form. All the students submitted the same one. So the system thinks it's copied. Okay, so that's not. However, can you briefly read this? Just really quickly read this taken from New Urbanism, please. Sorry about the noise. Okay, now imagine this sentence was written in essay 1, in an essay. Okay, so that's the first one. Imagine this sentence was written in an essay. This one. And this one. Okay, I want to just give you a minute. Can you compare these 4? Think about what the differences and similarities between them. Okay. And which ones are plagiarism. Okay. If you just give you a minute or 2. Okay, great. Yes, mentioning number 4 is the best one. So 1 is plagiarism. So yes, you're right. 1 is plagiarism there. Why? Because it's a direct copy of the text over the past 2 decades. So it's a direct copy. Okay. Number 2. It's got a citation, but it's still a direct copy. And I see this one all the time. So you think, but I put a citation. I'm not plagiarizing. I put the names of who said it there. Yes, but you're still using their exact words. Okay. If you use their exact words, you need the quotation marks, like in essay 3. But this is still incorrect because there's no page number. Okay. So this one's direct copy with a citation and no quotation marks. This one's got quotation marks, but no page number. The one at the bottom, direct quote, because it's their exact words. So this one is okay. So if you use the author's exact words, you need quotation marks, you need the citation, you need the year, and the page number if it's their exact words. Okay. This direct quote here would still appear in red as plagiarism, as a high similarity on Turnitin, but your tutor will look at it and say, no, it is not, because it's got the page number, quotation, page mark. Okay. This one here, and these 3, yes, these are plagiarism. This one, no, even if the system might think it is. Okay. But it's not done. So when you have a direct quote, it's really important that you don't just leave it there. You also need to interact with the quote. Okay, I'll talk about that a bit later. Okay, so you need to do something with that, comment on it, because it's lazy if not. Okay. Back to our original text. Here's essay 5. Okay. Is this one better? What can we see here? What's this? What's written in essay 5? It's not a direct copy. What is it? It's a reframe, yeah, or we call it a paraphrase. But yeah, okay. So they've taken the author's words and they've made them their own words. So is that good? Is this okay? So we can write this in our essay and it's okay. Thank you, Rosanna. Yes, we still need the citation. Okay, so no, because it's a paraphrase, but no citation. We need to have a paraphrase with a citation. Okay, that's the important bit. We need a paraphrase with a citation there. Okay. And this one is fine. No marks. What do you mean there, Mengjin? No, you do not need direct quotation marks because it's not the exact words. Okay, so yeah, and you also don't need the page number when it's a paraphrase. So I will show you this. We'll just skip forward a few slides. There you go. You see? So with a direct quotation, so that it's the exact words, we need the quotation marks and the page number. We can put it with the author first or the content first. With a paraphrase, no quotation marks, no page number. Excuse me. 1 second, I'm just going to cough. Sorry, it's not very nice to be here. Yi-Chen.
Yes, I want to ask the quotation marks when it's used a single one and a double one, because here it's single and the other one is double. Is it because of the original sentence they've got the single one? Yeah.
It doesn't particularly matter as long as you're consistent. Okay. Yeah, so as long as you're consistent with what you use. Second one. Okay, that might happen from time to time. I have a chest infection. Generally we use singular ones, but double ones is okay as well. Just be consistent. Okay. I believe the MMU Harvard guide uses singular. Okay. There we go. Is this free? Can you see that? Okay, that's directly taken from the MMU Harvard guide. The singular is generally preferred. Okay. Okay. So, avoiding plagiarism is if you did one of these things here, one of these bad ones, you are unintentionally plagiarizing. Okay, we think. It's not that you've intentionally taken someone else's work and copied it for your own. Okay, It's kind of, you've tried to use other people's works, but you've done it by accident. And this is what we see a lot of, but you will lose marks if you do it this way. Okay, so we don't want unintentional plagiarism because it's really sad because you didn't mean to. Okay, so you need to paraphrase. Okay, now to paraphrase, we can do three things. We can change the form of words, we can change the sentence structure, and we can use synonyms. Okay, words that mean similar things. So here's a task for you. Here is the original text. I want you to decide which paraphrase is the best one, and what are the issues with the other paraphrases. Okay, so I'll give you two or 3 minutes to do this. Original text, paraphrases, and what are the issues with the paraphrases. Okay. Okay. So can you put your answers in the chat box? Which is the best, A, B, C, or D? Which is the best paraphrase? Okay. My dog's just jumped up on the windows. Involved. Oh, thank you. Okay, got any more answers? Got a few more answers. Okay, so we've got a bit of a mixed response. So let me show you. Okay, so the best one is A. Oh, and Y. Okay. Sorry, the A is the best one. B has no reference, so we know that's wrong. Come on. C is too similar. Okay, it's okay, but it's a bit too much like the first one, especially with bodies and minds. Okay, so try and make it even a little bit more different. As I said, you would do these things, change the word forms, so change things from verbs to nouns, nouns to adjectives, etc., etc. Change the structure of the sentence and use synonyms. Okay, that was a bit too similar. It's okay, but, and this one's inaccurate. Okay, because I'm glad no one said D. Okay. Have a go at this one, a bit longer. I'll give you about 4 minutes to do this. So here's the original text, and here's your options. Okay. Okay, and when you think you've got the answer, can you put it in the chat box, A, B, C, or D, please? Oh, a bit of a mixed opinion on this one. Anyone else? Okay, shall we have a look again? So B, I've said, is the best. Okay. So the reason is A has no reference, so we know that's wrong. C is inaccurate, and D is a little bit too similar. Okay. So some of the information, it's okay. It's an okay paraphrase, but it could be a bit better by changing the structure. Okay. Right, I'm going to give you a bit of a break there for the time being. If you have a break for 5 minutes, and if you come back at quarter past, I'll give you a bit more, 10 past. So you come back at 20 past. Okay, so 20 past 5. Okay. Right, everyone, you can come back in 2 minutes, please. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Sometimes you just need to take a break when you've had lots of information to process, and maybe you have more questions now as well. I just wanted to go back to our Padlet and answer a few more of your questions on here I've been looking at. Okay, so I put the ones in yellow, which were mainly about structure, which all those I think we've dealt with already. Okay, so here in the middle, not sure how to relate to other texts. Should it be another book or a case or several articles? Okay, well, if you look at your assignment brief, it asked you to look at the other text from the seminar series. Okay, so you could look at these are the texts. Okay, but also other texts you might have read. Okay, you might be familiar with. Okay, or if you're relating it to your project work, your studio work, excuse me. Okay, I'm not sure how good the topic. Oh, that's the question. So for the question, is there a sentence that's too similar? Oh, I'll come back to the question in a minute. Okay. I'm not sure how good if the topic is good or not, and I don't know how to make my statement. Okay, your tutor, hopefully if you have a tutorials, they'll be able to help you with your topic. Okay, we all lack confidence in our first time writing something, and it's incredible that you're doing this in often another language or in another educational environment. Okay, so try and be confident that your idea is good. Okay, and if you're not sure, run it by your tutor. Okay, how to compare our pre to the other texts. I don't know what that means. So if you want to edit that one, you can do, because I don't know what that means. Should this essay be an argumentative essay? It's not as straightforward as that. It's not like this is a clear argumentative essay. It's more relating your text or theory to something else. Okay. Not sure about should there be a main topic for this essay or just critically at the principle of the text. Yeah, I dealt with that before. We're looking at the principles of the text. Okay, so you're comparing, contrasting different areas of them. Okay, it depends on what you're comparing it to. Okay, but you might take a principle of new urbanism and think, how does that relate, impact, apply to my studio work? All right. Font format requirements. Generally, it's Arial or Times New Roman font, size 11. This should be in your style guide for your course, just so check Moodle for that. How can I link my studio design using with a theory using just 2,000 words? Look at the structure that I gave you before. So concept, link it to your studio work. Concept, link it to studio work. Correlating different reading texts. Unsure how to correlate reading text while expressing the views or opinion of the author in the main text, and while doing so, how to reference the same. I'm not sure about the last question there, how to reference the same. But once again, it goes back to that clear structure I've given you, your text and then another text, comparing them together, linking them together based on a theme, based on an idea or concept. Okay. If the book contains a lot of information, how can I in the summary section, how can I manage it? Yeah, you have to be concise, unfortunately. Think about if you were to describe that book to your friend in a couple of sentences, what would you say? Okay. I'm not sure the structure of the dissertation. We're not writing a dissertation yet, so don't worry about that. But if you were, you could come to the dissertation course that I will run in January, okay, through Coaching for Academic English. Okay. Right, back to our chat there. And we have a question in the chat box. If I can make this work again, I'll just share my screen. Okay, so the question. If the sentence is too similar to the original words after paraphrasing, and the premise is the citation is marked correctly, does this influence the repeatability? I mean, will the sentence be marked red intention? Yes. Okay, if something looks too similar to the original, it will appear red. Okay, so be careful. Always put a citation, always. And you might think my work's full of citations because it's all other people's ideas. Good. Okay, you're probably not going to come up with anything that original. All right. So, but yes, if there's something that's too similar, in turnitin it will appear red or green or purple or whatever. Okay. Now, the best way to avoid this completely is to make notes. So what lots of you will do when you read your text or other text is do this on the left. Just highlight, highlight, highlight. Don't do that, because you're more likely to plagiarize, because you think, I need to write that information in my essay. So it's hard to change it. The better thing to do is, like on the image on the right, you have your text, you make notes, and you use the notes to write your essay. You still need a citation, but use your notes. So follow this step from the book to notes to your laptop. Use your notes to write. It takes out that step. There's another step between the original and your work. It makes it less likely that you're going to plagiarize. I always use a citation then. Okay. Making notes is really useful. So things you can do to avoid plagiarism. Use your notes to write. Make sure you paraphrase and add a citation, and upload your work to me through Matric. because then you can check your plagiarism, your similarity, before you submit it to your main course, which is good, right? So it makes you feel less nervous. So let me show you how to do that now, because this is really important. Oh, I'll come back to that if we have time. So before Tuesday, the 4th of January at 9 o'clock, you need to go to the Coaching for Academic English Moodle page. I'm going to put a link in the chat box now. Can you all click on the link and make sure you have access now, please? Just 1 second. Click on this link and make sure you have access. If on the link it says you do not have access to this course or you do not have permission, can you just put your hand up, please? So everybody click on the link, put your hand up if you cannot see the page. Cannot, not can. If you cannot see the page. Well, that's good. So far, so good. If anybody cannot, please email me, okay, because it's really important that you can. Now, if you all go to the very bottom of the page, you will see something that looks like this. It says Matric, Architecture and Urbanism. Can you see that? Or go to the bottom of the page. I will put the PowerPoints from today there and from last time. But also, I will upload, there is the link where it says Matrix Submission. That is where you submit your draft, 2,000 words of it. A little bit more is okay, but not the whole 3,000 words, so pick carefully. Okay. Before, so I can't see the, you can't, okay, that's fine. I just need to add you to that, that's okay. Oops. Can you pop your ID number, please, in the chat box? Oh, that's interesting.
I can't see the architecture and urbanism. There is nursing. And
okay, don't worry. I will check that tomorrow. Okay, there will be architecture and urbanism. You shouldn't be able to see physiotherapy, so that's interesting. It'll just be an issue with the permission. That's okay, but you will be able to. I will check that tomorrow for everybody. Okay. So, you will. If you look at my screen now, you can see matrix submission. I can only see this page, not AU. Thank you, Judy. Okay, I will have a look for you. That's fine. I just mustn't have added everybody. Don't worry, you will be able to. Okay. Okay, so by the 4th of January, before 9 AM, I'm not going to look after them after. So use this as a practice. Practice submitting it to me. And then what will happen is you will see within 24 hours, I think, you will see your similarity report. So that's great, isn't it? Don't panic if it's 20, 30%. Don't panic if it's any percent, because we will help you with it. Okay? That's fine. Okay, everyone, don't worry if you can't see the right page. I will check that for you. Okay? And have a look at it tomorrow. Okay? So if you submit that work before the 4th of January, I will be able to review it for you. Sorry about that. That was my son getting home from nursery. Great. Anyone have any questions about the submission? Okay. When you have submitted, I will then give you further instructions for how to book the one-to-one meeting with the tutor. Okay. You do not have to, as I said, it's not compulsory, but we really recommend you do. Students who have submitted generally do better. Okay, and submit the best piece of work you can, because if you submit an almost perfect draft, we can give you feedback on that. If you submit a couple of paragraphs that aren't you haven't put much effort into, we'll have to give you feedback on that. So submit the most perfect piece you can. Okay. Good. Any questions about that all? If you pop them in the chat box or put your hand up or shout out. Okay, lovely. So I just wanted to skip to that bit because I wanted to make sure we had time for it. So going back to looking at your reading. So what we would like to do is do something called synthesizing sources and using sources critically. So here is a table, and imagine you've made these notes, okay? And some of the notes have similar ideas and some have contradictory, different ideas, okay? So they're all about English as a global language. What I would like you to do is combine or synthesize is what we call it, some of these sources to create some shared ideas. For example, it is believed that English is the international business language for business, brackets, Watson, 2011, and technology, brackets, Louis, 2010. That's my one sentence. Okay. Can you all have a go at writing a sentence which synthesizes 2, 3 of these ideas? Okay. You can write it in the chat box, please. That would be great, or just write it on a piece of paper. All right, I'll give you 5 minutes to do this, please. Okay, can you write your sentences in the chat box, please, as I can have a look at them? Thank you, Yichen, you wrote yours. Apologies, I disappeared. I don't know why. I'll just share my screen again. Yeah, so I can see the issue with the Moodle. Don't worry, I can organise it tomorrow. English is a world language. Okay. Excellent, well done, Xin Zhao. Very good. Just one thing, no full stop until after the citations. English now becoming a global language. Perfect. Okay, so Natasha, with yours there, when we use two together, it would be like this. Okay, so the punctuation is really important. Okay, so when we want to use two authors that have the same idea to express the same idea, but we need to cite them both, we separate them with a semicolon. Okay? But very good. So that's called synthesizing sources. Okay. Now, earlier on, if you remember, a couple of hours ago now, I said you could use a direct quote or you can use a paraphrase, but it's not quite enough. You want to interact with it. Okay. So imagine we have the sentence, according to Hanan, the global power of the USA has an influence on the importance of English. Okay, that's fine. What would be great is if we can comment on that sentence. We could say, is there any evidence to support or refute the idea? Could we say, this is true because, okay, we can see, this can be seen. Can this point be seen from another perspective? And who did I just say did this? Menjin, you just did this. However, Dowd believes that Chinese will be increasingly popular in the future. Okay, so you're seeing it from another point of view. What does this point show? How could it be applied in reality? Are there any flaws with that point? So to be critical and to get the extra points there, we need to show we're doing something with our sources, not just putting them there and leaving them. Of course, we don't always need to do that with every single thing we cite, okay? Because otherwise you'd never get anywhere. That'd be all your words used. So do we need to point which book or article this sentence comes from? No, that's in the, yeah, Meiji is right, that's in the reference list. Okay, so at the very, very end of your essay, you'll write a list of all the references, all the books where everything comes from. Okay, that's your reference list. Okay, so every single citation, you need a reference at the end. Okay. All right. I'll just show this to you here, if I can. Just share this with you so you understand. Okay, so this is this person's essay, critical reflection essay. Put the word count at the end. And then she's put bibliography. It's actually a reference list. Okay, so write reference list and then all the references alphabetically. Okay, at the end. So call it a reference list. A bibliography is everything you've read. A reference list is everything you've read and used. So everything you've cited in here. So if you could see this person here, Aug, 1997, that will be here. Okay. And this is quite a nice bit of evidence here. Direct quotation, so she's put the page number. Okay, so just so you're aware of that. Okay. Okay, so my main point is that you need to do something with especially a direct quote, because anybody can just put other people's work in their essay, but it's really good for you to be able to comment on it. Okay, but then you'll get the high marks for being critical. Okay, which is obviously what you'll be looking at. Okay, any questions about that? No? So we are almost finished. So today we've reviewed what we've covered in the first workshop, but I will add that PowerPoint to Moodle along with this one. We focused on the structure of an essay. We looked at how to avoid plagiarism and how to incorporate sources and then be critical by adding comments onto them. And I have hopefully answered your questions. Any questions that I haven't been able to answer, like could we relate it to the studio work and a book, or how good is my topic, where do I find the information for font and format requirements, I will pass that on to Lucy. Okay, I'll pass those questions on. So the next step is to submit your draft to me in January, which seems strange that it's so far away. Okay, it's next year, but really it's less than a month. Okay, so, and we want you to relax a little bit over the holidays as well. So I will resolve that issue with the submission inbox tomorrow. It's just that you haven't all been added onto it, but you will soon. And you should be able to submit on the 4th. Then me and my team will look through your work, give you written comments on your work, and you'll be able to see your similarity, which will be really low because you've been paraphrasing and citing, so you won't have high similarity. Then we'll have one-to-one meetings. Okay. Questions in the chat box or verbally or anything at all? I'm really, really sorry about my cough today. I hope it gets better soon. I'm not sleeping very well because it hurts so bad. So hopefully it will feel better. Any questions about anything to do with your essay? The other thing to remember is that we are still doing writing consultations at the moment through Coaching for Academic English. You're welcome to book one. They will run for the next few weeks. So if you did want to have some of your work checked before this submission, you can, absolutely. But then you would book it the normal writing consultation way. Just at the top of the Coaching for Academic English page, there is a link to book an appointment and submit your work if you want. We're also going to be running classes again this is the final week this week, so running again from January as well, if you'd like to attend any of the Coaching for Academic English classes. Okay.
Hello, I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah. So when we submit to the metric, the feedback are except for checking the citation, what else can we get from the team? Like correct your English, or sounds more appropriate for essay, academic language, like what's the kind of...
Yeah, what will we look at? So this depends on what you submit to us. So it kind of has levels of severity. So if you have high similarity, the first thing we'll focus on is the similarity and plagiarism, and how to make sure you're not going to fail your essay. Okay, so we'll look at that. But if we don't need to, like if you have low similarity, we won't focus on that. The next would be about kind of the structure, the organization. So not really about the content, because we can't comment on the content, but about how it flows and works together. We look at paragraph structure, your introduction, topic sentences, etc. We'd look at your academic style. Is it academic language? Are you using the correct formality? Okay. We will look at your sentence structure. Do your sentences make sense? We will look at your punctuation. We will look at your grammar, vocabulary, spelling, citations, references, everything. So it depends what the biggest need is, really. Okay. Anything that's not the content, we can't inform you, oh, that's not correct, or that author didn't say that. We don't know about architecture. We've read a lot of architecture essays, but we don't know about architecture and urbanism. So it depends. Obviously, if you've plagiarized really heavily and your paraphrases have issues, we're not going to have time in our meeting to focus on your use of commas or citations or punctuation or grammar. So we'll deal with the most important issues. But if there's no issues with that, we will look at things, as I said, about grammar, vocabulary, style, all those kind of things. Okay. Making sure it makes sense.
Yeah, perfectly making sense. Thank you.
No problem. Don't worry if you can't see the AU session on. You don't need to do your ID numbers for me. I will make sure everybody is on that, can access that by tomorrow. The issue would come is if you can't get onto the Coaching for Academic English page, then I would need you to let me know. Okay, so if you can, I'll just show my screen again to make sure that's clear. If you can access this page, fine, don't worry, good. Okay, you don't need to do anything. If you cannot access this page, it says this page cannot be shown, email me or message me. The architecture and urbanism here, I will fix that tomorrow. Okay, at the minute there is a group and it's not complete. So if you are in this group, I'll just show you. There's 45 of you. So for example, you architecture and urbanism. If your name's not on this list, you won't be able to see it, but that's fine because I will update that list. There's 45 people in there and there are a lot more in your course. So do not worry, I will fix this tomorrow. Okay? Email me if you cannot see the Coaching for Academic English page. Any other questions? No, lovely. Well, I will let you get on with your evening. Have a lovely evening. I hope this has been helpful. If you do have any questions about your academic English or your essay, please do let me know. If it's about content, ask your tutors. Okay, but if it's about structure or style or anything like that, you can ask me. All right, so you can leave now. Thank you very much for your attention and participating, and have a lovely evening. Okay, bye everyone.